All right. Hey, good morning. Welcome into the Rise Grind Morning Show. Appreciate you guys joining us all this morning. We'll just get the pleasantries out of the way right away. And that is, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you love what you're hearing from this content today, do us the honor and the favor and help out the algorithm. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Looks like I got to fix an audio issue before we really get rolling, but we'll get Eric in here before we do all that. So today we're going to kind of run through what happened yesterday. Eric's obviously been, gone for a week. He's going to get an opportunity now to kind of discuss what he feels about the case and kind of what went down yesterday. And I have many questions. Today is the state of the Lions, and what is the state of the Lions currently? Are they going to be able to recover? That is my biggest question. Is Dan Campbell going to be able to keep this team on the straight and narrow? And I would love to know what his teammates are thinking, or former teammates, Terry Arnold's former teammates, simply because I feel like this was done for the team, and I think all of you understand that. I mean, that's in simple terms, but it goes deeper than that. And we're going to talk about that today, and maybe there's a reason why the Lions acted before the NFL acted, and maybe the NFL was not going to act. We're going to talk about all that today. Also, we're going to get into the cap considerations for Terry Arnold's release, what it means, maybe how long it's going to take the Lions to recover from that, why releasing Terry Arnold might have been the right move. And as you guys know, I've been behind, the fact that was going to happen. I didn't expect Terry Arnold to play this year, even if he had bond. I said I felt that he was going to be suspended right away, or the Lions, or, exemption list. Something was going to happen no matter what. What are the Lions, going through right now? What does Allen Park look like today? And obviously it's empty, nobody there, but it's still a team facility that is probably reeling right now and losing one of their brothers, somebody they supported, and Dan Campbell. I think that's the most important thing to talk about today. We're going to play the audio from Dan Campbell's time at the annual league meetings and uncover the truth about Dan Campbell and what he said. There's been some wild accusations about what Dan Campbell said, and I think I've got a clear understanding. So without further ado, let's get Eric in here. Let's get rolling. And good morning, man. It's all you for a moment. Let me fix the audio issue. How are you doing today?
Well, I am in absolute shock. I'm in absolute awe about this whole thing. So since I left last Tuesday, everything was hunky-dory with Terry Arnold. The Lions were on his side. The Lions had said, Terry Arnold said he had nothing to do with it, and that's what they found, and everything was hunky-dory. So up until last Tuesday, this wasn't even really an issue anymore. And I go away for 6 days. I go to Indiana to a Rock and Gem show, and all of a sudden Terry Arnold gets arrested. So I'm like thinking to myself, now these are just my personal opinions, that if there was enough evidence for him to get arrested, then this is pretty bad, right? And then I tune in yesterday for the entire 4.5 hour, whatever it was, to the morning show, and ended up watching the entire legal case unfold. And to my surprise, there was zero evidence pointing at Terry Arnold, anything concrete that I could see during this court case. And to me, the detective seemed very unprepared, didn't know what page anything was on or where anything was said, seemed to fumble a lot of things when the ball was thrown to him to answer questions. He said, after every question was asked to him, and the prosecutor was basically the same. And the prosecutor kept leading him all around this very long, very difficult to understand story that they had. And I thought that they could have shortened it way up. This proceeding should have taken maybe an hour. It took 4 hours because the prosecutor he was like throwing word salad at every single question in every single part of this case. And then you noticed when Terrian's lawyer got up, he was super quick, super concise. He controlled the conversation. He was very well spoken and got to the point right away. And he got he got that detective to impeach himself quite a few times. And I thought that his lawyer did a fantastic job. And then he wins his case. He gets bond, which is $1 million bond. So that's putting down 10%. That's $100,000. Pretty cheap, pretty easy to get off, or not get off, but to get that kind of a bond for him. Perfect. And then his lawyer argues and gets him to not have to wear an ankle monitor. So perfect. He gets to go to training camp. He gets to travel. And the one question I thought they should have asked when they were asking about travel was, what about the Germany game in November? Can he travel to that game if he is playing in November? I thought they should have asked about that, but they didn't. And so Terrion gets everything.
Hold on. Let's stop right there for just a moment.
Yeah.
Because that's actually something I didn't think about. But if you're a potential fugitive, right? Well, you're not a fugitive yet, but you could be. If you end up in Germany and you slip the security for the Lions and you escape the Lions hotel, and now you're out in Germany somewhere and you cross into a border where, there's non-extradition, he could have just disappeared. He could have transferred all of his money to crypto and just fell off the face of the planet if he felt like he was going to be convicted. So that is an interesting point. That
what if he refused to get back on the plane?
Yeah, well, so I'm saying, what if he just disappeared?
Yeah. What if Germany doesn't have an extradition? He just says,
they do, but
I'm staying here.
But Russia doesn't.
But I'm staying here. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, that could have been wild, man. That could have been wild. But anyway, continue. I didn't mean to really interrupt you there.
So, there was quite a few questions I wish would have gotten asked, and that was one of them, just one of them. And I had another one earlier that we talked about. And then to come home and my phone starts beeping and buzzing and dinging like mad. I must have had 50 messages in the first 5 to 10 minutes of Terrion Arnold being released by the Detroit Lions. And I had messages like, great. About time they got rid of that guy, and can't take the thug out of the thug. And this guy sucked anyway. We're not going to miss anything anyhow. And I'm just like, holy crap. These people are absolutely brutal. This is a person. This is a person that for 20 something years has had the sole focus of making it to the NFL.
And zero criminal history.
Yes, zero. I mean, and they tried to say that, because of his past issues. I'm like, what past issues? He's never had so much as a parking ticket.
That was like I said, last week on that exact phrase. I think it was Sunday night that I went over that.
Yeah.
I said it's a lot of boilerplate stuff that comes out of that statute. But to say that someone has past or present, circumstance that, could potentially be a reason as why you don't give this guy bond. And I said back then, I didn't know if he had any criminal history. We found out yesterday he didn't. So, they look, the state tried to really, really trip him up, but they didn't have a case, Eric. They didn't have a case. Yeah. The judge even said they didn't have a case, said it wasn't there yet, way early, no reason to keep this man behind bars. However, he still granted them probable cause, which I still feel is a reach. You can possibly place him at the scene of the crime, but we'll talk about that because, again, I don't think it's enough. He might end up with something, but I think it's going to be really, really, really low on the totem pole when it comes to charges, unless, and I'm glad the judge said this, they have a really high bar to cross when using 2 convicted felons as their witness testimony. Just because you're there and just because you're a witness does not mean that is great evidence to a jury. And I think the jury is going to be heavily instructed by his attorney to say, remember, these two felons, I guarantee you he's going to call them felons 150 times an hour while he's talking to the jury, and he should, because he needs to plant in their head, you're not trustworthy. And then to go back and find out what they've done in their life, that's going to be all over the place. Once we find out what those people have done in their life. I got one question for the chat, and I asked Eric, he didn't know this morning either. Was it said yesterday, and please only respond if you know it's a fact, that Terry and Arnold just met those girls with like a couple of weeks preceding this incident? Did anybody hear that yesterday? Because I can't remember if that was said. I have heard through social media and other places people kind of putting that down that he may have just met them a couple weeks prior. And so if that's the case, and even if it's not the case, Eric, I've said from day one, that Delvi girl, I think that she's the one that robbed them. And it goes back to what they said yesterday during the hearing. The only way you could get into that place was with a code. And the only way you're going to get that code is from Terry and Arnold. And there was zero forced entry into that building. So again, unless they Mission Impossibled it, climbed up the wall with some glass things and a rope and a ski mask, and got in and got out undetected, sprayed all the cameras, put the light on the cameras. You know where I'm going with this. Well, total movie scene. There ain't no way you got into that apartment without the code.
You can't tell me that Airbnb does not have a Ring doorbell camera.
Well, I'm sure that the entire place does.
So whoever put the code in all 100 times, there is going to be a picture of who put the code in so they could enter that building. Potentially.
Well, just like the one that we stayed in Indy. That one it took your picture.
Oh, right? Yeah.
It's just like a bank ATM. Has a real tiny little pinhole camera. And so when you go put your card in, it's getting pictures of you, video of you. Same thing at most places that have secured entry. And I used to do that when I did all the CCTV stuff and sales engineer for that holdings company, that when I designed those systems, we always had cameras or access systems that would know exactly whose card it was coming in and out. That's the first thing. But now backing it up with a camera and an image, that's the second thing. So what I still don't understand, where the hell's the money? Like, if those guys weren't involved, where's the money? Where's all the stuff?
I have another question.
Who's being implicated for this?
Where this NFL cell phone that Terrion had, they said it was found down in Miami. Was it found, or did it ping in Miami?
They pinged it to Miami.
Was it ever not confiscated? Was it ever, taken back into custody? Do they have that phone?
No idea. I don't remember that from yesterday. I don't think they do.
They didn't say anything. They just said that it pinged in Miami. That was it. So it pinged in Miami, and then somebody took the battery out, turned it off.
The battery. I said that yesterday. We don't have batteries anymore.
Yeah. Well, do you know that I think starting next year, they have to go back to using batteries that come out of cell phones?
Why?
So they can be replaced.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, they can still be replaced, but you got to take the whole phone apart.
Yeah.
All right. So, legal note: the allegations involving Terry and Arnold have not been proven at trial. Arnold denies involvement, remains presumed innocent. Detroit's decision to release him was an employment decision or a roster decision, not a criminal verdict. And that's where I think I want to start today. The Detroit Lions have officially moved on from Terry and Arnold, but releasing one player does not end the fallout. So the state of the Lions today is crippled. They're obviously in some pain. The Lions are going through some stuff. Thankfully, it happened in June and not late July. But Arnold was granted a $1 million bond yesterday. The Lions released him just a few wee hours later. The criminal case continues. The NFL is still reviewing the situation. And Detroit now has to address the emotional, the organizational, and the football consequences that fall out from yesterday. Today's discussion is bigger than Terry and Arnold. We are talking about why the Lions made the move, what the locker room may be processing, and what Dan Campbell must do immediately, and how Brad Holmes replaces a former first-round cornerback, and why this team still has enough leadership and talent to recover. That's my mini theory. We will get into the Detroit Lions cornerback competition. I've talked about it a few times. Eric has not, so we'll get him brought into the conversation. The growing importance of Aiden Hutchinson and Derek Moore, the offense's role in protecting the defense, and the latest NFC North developments if we get that far today. So segment one of today will be, well, Lions released Terry and Arnold, and they made their final football decision on Terry and Arnold Monday afternoon. Earlier in the day, as you all know, Florida Judge Sabella, denied the prosecution's request to keep Arnold detained and instead granted him the $1 million bond. Now, he must surrender his passport by tomorrow, avoid contact with the alleged victims, witnesses, and or co-defendants, and comply with a very strict travel and home confinement condition. The court ruling did not dismiss the charges. It did not prove Arnold's innocence, and it did not establish guilt. But hours later, the Detroit Lions officially released him, and the Lions did not provide any detailed public information or an explanation or a statement, and they probably will not, at least right now. But the timing shows the organization was unwilling to carry this uncertainty into training camp. Arnold remains free to defend himself through the court process. Detroit is also free to decide that his availability, the seriousness of the allegations, and the possibility of any future NFL action created too much risk for the football operation. The legal case now belongs to the courts. The Lions must turn their attention towards the locker room, and that's what we're going to talk about today. I've been very clear about this, Eric, since last week when this all went down. I said from the very outset, the Lions aren't carrying this risk. They're not. It's too much. Distraction is the word that I used, and I still feel that's the reason why the Lions made this decision. Now, I don't know why, but that's my opinion. I feel the distraction was too heavy. Maybe they had a quiet team meeting that wasn't announced. Maybe they brought in everybody on a Zoom. I don't know that either. It would be a great question for one of the guys in the room. Hey, did you talk to the team about this? What was their reaction? And, of course, they're going to give you the non-compliant answer of, I'm going to keep in-house things in-house, as Dan should. But the bigger question, Eric, came up about Dan Campbell and his comments back at the annual league meetings. And people have taken this sideways. Matter of fact, Rob Parker, which I started yesterday off with, and it took me 4 minutes to go off on the guy. He's making Dan Campbell out to be some villain in a bad way, like he's responsible for this. This is all Brad Holmes' fault. This is all Dan Campbell's fault. The Lions are now, on their way away from Dan Campbell, and if he has a losing season this season, he's going to be fired. This has nothing to do with Dan Campbell. But let's get to the truth, like we try to do. That's our goal on this channel, is to provide the truth. And so that's where I'm going to go to next. And then as soon as we're done with Dan Campbell, of course, Eric will get all your comments. And let's go to that now. Oh, hold on. There we go. There's Dan. So Dan Campbell back at the annual league meetings. I believe this is Dave Burkett that asked the question to Dan Campbell about Terry and Arnold.
I am forgot about you.
What has he said about that situation?
Yeah, I mean, we've probably everything you guys know. I mean, we got all the information that says he wasn't involved. That's what we know. That's all we know. And I mean, that's really all I can say. I mean, we're monitoring what's out there. I mean, as of a month ago, this was nothing. So I have no idea what this is. As far as I know, it's still not a big deal. It seems like, he wasn't involved with this. So
What steps, if any, do you have to take to just...
We pause there. Dan said, now remember, this was back on March 30th. So a month prior to this is February. And he's saying it seems like a month ago, this was like a non-issue, like this was nothing. and he uses he chooses his words carefully. It seems as though Tarion wasn't involved with this. He didn't say Tarion wasn't involved. He said it seems as though Tarion Arnold wasn't involved. I know grammar is hard, or listening is even harder for some people, but in this case, Dan was trying to explain their position without over glorifying, under glorifying, or giving information out that he doesn't have any. Like, what information would he actually have? And so they said that the information that they do have, which could have been from Tarion, from his attorney, or from the state. I mean, I doubt the state would have given him anything, but their in-house counsel, I'm sure, did their due diligence, filed everything that they could possibly file to get as much information as they could. And unfortunately, usually through this, you won't get anything unless your relationships extend beyond the line and you're able to get some courtesy. So in this case back then, they didn't know much about Tarion Arnold other than, I didn't do it. I wasn't involved. And that's what they're going to believe. And if he wasn't indicted at that point, then why wouldn't you believe that? If they really had something on Tarion Arnold, then he would have been in jail with the rest of them from the very beginning. So I don't think Dan's wrong here. Eric, what do you think about his statement so far?
This is the statement that I think comes back to bite TA. Because Dan said, according to them, they had all the information, and it says that Tarion had nothing to do with this. And then yesterday, his lawyer said that he wanted redemption, or he wanted to get, what do you call it?
Confront.
He wanted to confront the people that had stolen his stuff.
Let's talk about that before you go any further.
Yeah.
Because I think that's important. So I made the analogy. I made the analogy off air. And I said, Eric, if you and I are at a game and I see one of those, silly ass people that likes to talk shit about me.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, Eric, you know what? I'm going to go over there and I'm going to go confront that guy and ask him what the hell his problem is with me and why they continue to talk shit. Now, if I go over there and I do just that, and this person postures up, and next thing you know, it goes to fisticuffs, and someone gets the shit kicked out of them, and that person dies. Right?
Yep.
Does that mean now you're complicit because you were standing next to me? That's exactly what this case is about. Are you complicit because I said I was going to confront, but that person maybe went too far, and then I had to defend myself, and then things went even further? That doesn't mean you're involved in a murk rap, right?
Well, it depends. What if I'm sitting next to you and I say, Will, them mother effer's been saying stuff about you. You need to go kick their ass because
that's different.
They did something to me.
That's different.
Yeah,
that's different.
Well, that's kind of what they're saying, and the fact that his lawyer even admitted that much, that he did want to confront them, I think that is what tipped the Lions to release him. Because according to Tarion, he had absolutely nothing to do with this, didn't know anything about it.
But let's separate that. No, hold on. Let's pause because we don't know what Tarion said. Yeah, we don't know what Tarion said. But what we know is what Dan said. And what Dan said is the information that they have is that Tarion wasn't involved in this. So let's separate the two very, very defining moments here. Being involved in the beating, right? And that whole story that happened inside the apartment or home, whatever it was, townhome. And then there's being involved in, I wanted to confront that individual and find my stuff. That's what he wanted. That's what his attorney said that Arnold was trying to do. He said that if his client did admit to, now I'm paraphrasing, if his client did admit to one thing, that he wanted to confront somebody and get his stuff back by saying, I think I know who did this. But why did Tarion say, I think I know who did this? Because there's only so many people that have a damn code. and his phone was in Miami, and the only person that was in Miami was the dude that allegedly cuts the dude's hair, Yanni or whatever his name was. I can't remember. So
now I'll say this:
there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing illegal about that. Confronting someone is not, you're not breaking a law.
Yes.
Where the law broke is where these individuals went off the deep end.
But I think that statement by his lawyer, only having this lawyer for 72 hours, by the way,
right?
Great lawyer, but he was only on the case for 72 hours, and he was more prepared than anyone else in that courtroom.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely insane. Because the other people have been working on it since February 3rd. The fact that he made that statement in any way, shape, or form that connects Terrion to this whatsoever, I think, is when the Lions were like, that's it, we're done.
So you think that hangs this whole thing up for Terrion?
I
with the
do.
Lions?
I really, really think, because when I was watching it live, my jaw dropped, and I said to Gary, who was next to me, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that.
Well, let's do this. Let's ask everybody out there, because I disagree. I hear you. I feel like the Lions probably knew. Again, allegedly, this is my opinion.
Yes.
I feel like the Lions knew deep down there was some sort of a connection, but I don't believe they thought he really did anything. Like, he's not some drug kingpin. He's not a narco terrorist. He's not a Mexican mob, boss. He's not the final boss in the chapter, sitting back with a fat cigar and a cane and a pile of cash and a bunch of cocaine bricks, saying, "Get them, take care of my small business." You know what I mean? No, that's not Terrion Arnold. I do got a theory though, but I'm going to put this poll in, and then I'm going to throw this theory at you, and again, this is just commentary. This is that's all we're talking about is we're trying to figure this out by talking through it. And so what I'm going to say next might shock some people. But anyway, enlighten us with what else you thought happened, and then I'll play Dan Campbell here in just a second.
Yeah, and then there was another thing, when they were talking about the injuries to these victims, and when you are pistol whipped, you're going to bleed. If you've ever been hit with any metal object, you're going to bleed. You're going to have cuts. You're going to have bruises. You are going to have hematomas. You are going to be beat up. And if you were beat up for an hour, you're going to have stuff all over your body. I'm sure they were getting kicked and punched and this and that. Why wouldn't the first thing you do is go to the hospital and get pictures and get evidence?
I want to come back to that one, because that's also very intriguing.
Was this related to the police? Was this reported to the police within 30 minutes of this incident happening?
I think that they said one of them went to the hospital that evening or that morning, and then that investigator / witness couldn't recall. And then said that, it was reported, I think, within an hour or so after this whole fiasco was alleged, to happen. And so anyway, there's that. Let me finish Dan Campbell, and then I'm going to come back to what I'm going to say next that will leave you on a cliffhanger here. I think it's pretty wild. The thought that I had last night as I'm laying down thinking about this, I'm like, something doesn't add up. Here's Dan Campbell.
Make sure you have some insurance in case things change.
Question is, do you have some insurance?
Well, getting Rock was big, getting Rock back was big for us, Now that's not why. Well, what happens if that wasn't the thought? But if it happens that way, or you talk about insurance, I mean, certainly we'll need to be able to fill in somewhere with depth. But look, we still got Reed. We like Rake. Rake's coming back. I know it's unproven right now, but he's had a good off season to this point, and we got Rock, man, and McCrary, and so we've got some things there. And we'll just take it as it comes. I mean, until something happens, I feel like we're going to be good here. I'm going to trust what the kid said, and I think we're all right.
Make sure he can play outside.
So that's it. He's going to trust what the kid said, and I think we're all right. But at this point,
Yep.
you're talking 45, 50, 55 days after the alleged incident. They don't have any information. They have nothing, right? And at this point, Terrion Arnold was not being investigated. I think he was talked to. I think he lawyered up right away, or maybe he didn't. I mean, we know that this recent attorney was in the last couple of days, but we really don't know when he lawyered up. And if he went in without a lawyer, if he was ever interviewed without a lawyer, we don't know. And so yesterday, with the things that I wanted to hear and the things that I wanted to see is any minor amounts of evidence that they were going to share. Not once did they say Terrion Arnold's text message. It always said, she said, he said, and hearsay will never fly in court.
No.
It will not. It is not evidence. Hearsay will be object every time, because he says, she said, don't fly. That's all I heard yesterday. I didn't hear Terrion Arnold's text, Terrion Arnold's location, Terrion Arnold's car location, a picture of Terrion Arnold. Those 4 women sitting in that car saw Terrion Arnold. Nothing. Not even one of the victims. Here's what I'm going to say. I feel, again, allegedly, the Devy girl, I think that she robbed everybody, number one. And number two, I feel like this was a giant plot, and all of these idiots were involved somehow. Even the guys that got the shit kicked out of them were probably involved. And the minute that they didn't walk away with a bag full of money or anything else, that's when they started to rat, chirp, tell, call police, and do everything else. I feel like it's the other way. I feel like he got involved with some bad people that were trying to take him. Now, here's what I'm going to say to that, too. Why the hell does Terrion Arnold have hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash reported or alleged?
Yeah, at an Airbnb.
Why? So I'm wondering here,
what?
is TA involved in something else? Is he involved in, I mean, I mentioned it yesterday. Was he hustling? Was he hustling down in Florida? I mean, these actors that he's with, not good people, right? I don't have all their rap sheets yet. I'm trying to get them. And I'm wondering just how bad it gets. Like, do any of these people have any previous drug convictions, drug charges, anything else in their past that would explain as to why there would be that much cash needed? Nobody uses cash. Everybody uses plastic or your phone. Why do you need cash? For what? Yeah. That's a lot of cash just to have in an Airbnb without a safe.
Yeah,
and maybe it had a little baby safe.
Yeah. I think what Gaviscon is saying is that he likes casinos. Well, even if you like a casino down there in Tampa or wherever he was at, you don't take a bag of cash into the casino with you. You take your gold card with you, or you open a line of credit with the casino. That's what people with lots of money do. They do not carry a bag of cash into a casino. It just does not happen.
Well, unless they win. But even then, the people that like to flaunt. Look, I think Terrion is a guy that likes to flaunt.
I worked in casinos for 15 years. The only people that ever came into a casino with a bag of cash were farmers, and it came in a friggin' plastic garbage bag.
Well, you do see all the guys on YouTube that do all the, do all the gambling channels and that they carry big duffel bags, full of cash, but that's all for show, right?
Show.
And I believe that Terrion, just from watching him over the past couple of years, I feel like he's a guy that likes to show off a few things. And look, he didn't come from a bunch of money. Now he has a bunch of money, and now he's about to lose a bunch of money. And we're going to talk about that next. So my biggest question there was, why all the cash? Something doesn't add up there. And Airbnb had insurance. Like, this should have been a nothing burger. It should have never happened. Terrion Arnold, clearly put himself in a position that he's probably going to pay dearly for it, but I just don't feel like the legal process is going to put him in prison for life. I don't even think he's going to put him in prison for a year. As a matter of fact, I think he's probably going to walk from the whole damn thing. So, yeah, and then with that, so that's the other question, Eric.
Yeah.
In
what
the
happens
chat,
next week?
Yeah, so in the chat, the question was, what happens if he's innocent, he's proven innocent, and he walks away? Are the Lions going to bring him back? Answer's no for me.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, what happens next week? Next week, not in a month, not 2 months. Next Monday, the judge or the prosecutor comes out and says, you know what? There's not enough evidence to proceed forward. We are dropping all charges. We will not be reopening this case. We are done. What happens when that happens on Monday?
I mean, it could.
It is going to be an absolute tornado thunderstorm in the NFL, because what kind of precedent does that send to all the other players on the Detroit Lions and all the future players to come play for the Detroit Lions? Oh, man, they didn't even wait till his court case got over with, and they got rid of him. They didn't care that he was a first-round pick.
Right.
They dropped him anyway.
I hear you. I disagree. I think what it says is the other side, and I think what it says is they run a clean ship. They're a classy organization. They don't want any F-ups on their team. So if you're going to be involved in this shit, you ain't going to last long in Detroit. So don't even bother. And I think that's the right message to send. I also feel like this is a pretty messed up case. And I think that the prosecutor really messed it all up. And it maybe made it look worse than what it is, because it was all the he said, she said stuff in the witness testimony that maybe the Lions are fearful of. I think that they just sent a message to everybody that says, we ain't effing around. We don't care that you're a first round pick. They said that from the very beginning. We don't care how much money you make. You ain't playing on this team unless you belong here. And right now, Terry and Arnold doesn't belong here.
Yeah, Phoenix just said it. Dan said, no turds.
There you go.
Yeah.
But you know what? Look,
turd,
if he's innocent, he's innocent. And I'm not going to hold this case over Terry and Arnold's head. If he's innocent, he's innocent. And then maybe he gets another shot in the NFL. So let's talk about that topic briefly.
Yeah. What if it comes out next week that these girls all set him up, and this whole thing was a giant setup?
Right. So, and I think it could go that far. I really do. But here's where I'm going to go next. Why did the Lions jump the NFL? The NFL usually is swift to make a decision or a preemptive decision on a suspension. Let me get off this screen. On a suspension for the player prior to the court case even being handled. You've seen it happen dozens and dozens and dozens of times. The judge or the NFL, Roger Goodell, will place a player on an exempt list, excuse them from the NFL, paid, and when the court process finally finishes, they may even still be suspended, even if they were innocent. That part I don't agree with. If you've been proven innocent in a court of law, you should not be suspended from the NFL. However, the NFL has a code of conduct policy, and therefore, the Lions made their decision. And why did they do it before the NFL? Here's my reason, or here's my thought. I think the Lions wanted to save as much face as possible. If the NFL comes out an hour after this hearing and says Terry and Arnold's going to be suspended, Terry and Arnold's on the exempt list, well, then the Lions are second to react. And I think by reacting first, they send the message, we're not effing around. Get your shit together. We ain't on this team. We don't care who you are. But I think that they wanted to be first. They may have communicated with the NFL, and the NFL said, hey, look, this is what we're thinking. We're going to give you a chance to do it first. What are you going to do? And I think that's why the Lions reacted. Now, that's my opinion. I do not know any inside information on this, just as nobody else does. So what do you think? Do you think that's why the Lions maybe jumped the NFL here to save some face?
Yes, I think this is 100% trying to save face. And not only that, I think they're trying to save their players and their coaches from having to answer a question about a player that is on their roster through the entire training camp and off season and into the games. Because if you're having to answer questions about Terry and Arnold every single day all the way through training camp, Rock Ya-Sin's going to have to deal with questions about
Yep.
Terry and Arnold every single day.
Distraction.
And it's a distraction for him. Now he can say, well, he's not on the team. We don't have to answer. We're not going to answer any questions about Terry and Arnold whatsoever. He's not a player on our team. So,
that's a very important point. Go ahead and finish. Sorry.
Every coach can say, I'm sorry, we're leaving that up to Brad and Dan to talk about that. We're not answering any questions about a player that no longer plays on our team. And they can just keep it sealed. They can keep it tight. They don't have to answer any questions. Less of a distraction. They can sit everybody down and say, hey, this is why we did this. This is not going to leave this room. We don't answer any questions about Terry and Arnold whatsoever. He is no longer on this team. That's it. Period. End of story. Let's go win a Super Bowl.
Well, that's the big thing, man. They need to keep this ship afloat. They need to, Dan Campbell needs to keep this team, riding high into camp in July so that they can do the inevitable. And inevitable is that the Lions will win a Super Bowl. And it may not be this year. It may not be next year. It could be this year. It could be next year. It could be both. But that's the most important thing, man. You want to keep the main thing, and they want to keep this team in line, and they want to keep these players' heads not in the clouds, but on the field. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've been saying for over a week now is the word distraction is huge. And if you're distracted, and if you're on the, you're on the field and you're across from Justin Jefferson, and then you just get this, you've all been there. You just get a random thought that comes across your head, something that has been just weighing heavy on you, something that you're going through. Wife cheated on you. It's on your mind all the time. And I'm not saying that happened to me. I'm just using that as an example. And no matter where you are, you're thinking about it. Oh, I can't believe that, man. You heard, some information about it that is true. And that stuff is just going across your brain like a ticker symbol. Right? Or a ticker. And so Terry could be across from JJ thinking, man, that girl set me up. And then there goes JJ. He's in the end zone. That's exactly what the Lions don't want. But more importantly, Eric, you hit it right on the head, man. They don't want to have to answer questions in training camp that are going to distract them from camp, distract them from football. And when a player is not on your team, guess what? You don't have to talk about it. If that player is on your team, kind of have to talk about it. Now, I don't know exactly what the NFLPA or the collective bargaining agreement exactly says, but you do have to meet with the media so many times per year, per season, per day, per week, whatever. And you do have to answer questions. However, you can respectfully decline to answer questions. But if he's not even on the team, it's a moot point. And the other thing that you said, which is spot on, is you don't need Rock Ya-Sin being drugged through all of this. He needs to go play football. He doesn't care. He can't care about what's going on with TA.
Yep. Same with Keith Abney. Same with Ennis Rakestraw. Yeah. Any of the guys that might be replacing TA, they don't need to have, because if I'm Ennis Rakestraw, if I'm Rock Ya-Sin, if I'm Keith Abney, I'm thinking, all right, well, that's one less guy I got to get through on training camp.
There you go. Yeah, man, what a disaster.
And I personally, I don't think the Lions are going to run out and find another corner.
Not right away.
I just don't see them going out and making a big trade, because the first thing you saw was 800 articles about, the Lions should do a 3-team trade for this player and this would make sense. And
a 3-team trade.
God.
A 3-team trade like that happens. Yeah.
Just shoot me now, please.
That happens. My goodness. All right. Give me one second.
So our poll's doing pretty well right now.
What's it saying?
It says 45% yes, 28% no, and 28% unknown. So yes is in the lead in my category.
And that was the question about if the Lions made a decision.
I think they made their decision based on that statement of confrontation from his lawyer.
I totally forgot what the poll question is. Do you think the Lions made their decision based on the lawyer statement of confrontation? Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
I knew I was onto something when I saw that.
All right. I got to get to something real quick. I got to show y'all what I'm super excited about this season. We were supposed to have a draft this Sunday, but I don't think we had enough people in the members fantasy
football. I
football.
tried to get in.
Yeah, so make sure if you're a member and you want to get into the fantasy football team, this is going to be a consistent year in, year out team. What did I select? Was it a keeper league or was it?
I don't know.
It wasn't a PPR. League. It was a dynasty league. So you're going to be able to keep your team, and this is going to be something that we're going to be doing. But we're going to do probably 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, whatever we need. Fantasy leagues this year, PPR leagues are going to be, the breadth of them. There's going to be a lot of them. And so if you're a member, there's going to be the members only. Dynasty, there's going to be a members only PPR. And then there's going to be for everybody. And the reason why I'm doing it this way is because we have a new sponsor this season that is going to be supporting us and has given us some access, which, Eric, don't let me forget, I got to get you access this week. Let me show you guys what it's all about. So if you go to draftsharks.com/rocked-on, you're going to land on this little page. And in this little page, I'm giving you guys all sorts of deals right now. If you want to sign up with Draft Sharks, it's not $16 a month right now. It's $6 a month. And if you sign up for the semi-annual, that is just $36 for 6 months of the traditional leagues and unlimited Draft Sharks. But what you should do, at least at a minimum, get the plus keeper, plus dynasty, and auction. Or if you really want to win your leagues and have the most information and the most fun, $16 a month, build semi-annually, will get you into the plus personalized and advice. It is their top subscription. But this is what you get, man. You get all sorts of stuff. I wish I could make this a little bit bigger, but you get unlimited live draft sync. So if you're on ESPN, if you're on Sleeper, I don't care where your league is, you can drag it into Draft Sharks, and then Draft Sharks will analyze, help you project, give you all the advice, give you all the rankings every single day to your inbox. But you can just log in and get all the information that you need, up to the minute waiver information. You get 3D projections, 3D trade values, player rankings in all formats, ADP market indexes, injury risk, mock draft trainers, inside only articles. A lot of information in these articles. I should log in a minute and show you some more.
Yeah, I can't wait to dive into all of this.
The Team Intel, League Synced Free Agent Finder, right? Redraft Trade Navigator, Draft Sharks app is also included. And that's included in the basic edition. If you step up to Plus, you get the Dynasty War Room, you get the Auction War Room, you get the Best Ball War Room, Keeper Tools, and the Keeper War Room included the Dynasty Trade Calculator. And if you get the Best Edition, you get personalized advice, right? If you are serious about fantasy football, you should be serious about Draft Sharks. Go to draftsharks.com/rockedon today and sign up. And I also have to say that if you do sign up, that this channel may get a small affiliate favor from Draft Sharks. And of course, all that will go to great use and be donated or used to purchase products to then give away for the Rocked On Cancer Foundation. That's where all of that is going to head. We're not going to keep any of it personally. I want to put it towards a really good use. So if you're going to do Draft Sharks, you might as well take advantage of the code and visit the site, draftsharks.com/rockedon. I have some videos in that coming out. Actually, let me, I don't want to show this one. This one's like 3.5 minutes. But I have some videos in that'll come out that'll show you. It'll be some ads that will run, during our programs or during videos that I do, so that you can get as much information as possible. But why wouldn't you invest even $13 in your fantasy football league, right? I mean, if you really want to win, information is all the battle. It's not half the battle. It's all the battle is having the information. Draft Sharks, they are the leaders. Like, they have won consistently every year, like first, second, third place in hundreds of fantasy leagues. So they do a great job. Good stuff. And the site, all new this year. They put a lot of resources into their new site and made it really user-friendly. For somebody like me that's never relied upon that, really didn't do fantasy football for probably 5 years, I'm going to take it serious this year. So putting you all on notice.
Good. Well, I'm going to dive into it as much as I can here shortly. And when we get to the season, once we get into the fantasy football season, I plan on once a week having a little fantasy football part of the show. So,
yeah, that'd be great. And we'll use Draft Sharks to help guide us through it because there's so much information we can share. So anyway, in a couple of weeks, we'll do the redraft. I got to get through this holiday, right? We'll do the redraft for the members only. And then we're going to do a draft probably every Sunday or every Saturday. I prefer you not auto pick, but if you can't make it, you can't make it. Just know that if you set it up right using Draft Sharks, you will get the best players available, and Draft Sharks can do it all for you. So even a better reason to go to draftsharks.com/rockdown.
That's something I think that would be great for people is you be able to just drag and drop, put your draft in, and let DraftKings draft for you. Because
Draft Sharks,
what happens is you get on ESPN and it just puts everybody in this big giant long list, right? And it ADPs them, average draft position. I wish you could talk this morning. And what that does is it lumps wide receivers, it lumps running backs, quarterbacks, everything all into kind of sections, right? And they don't really care if you've already drafted 2 running backs. They're going to draft you 2 more because that's what the average draft position of those people are. So it's going to keep drafting you running backs until there's no running backs left. So you're going to have a team full of running backs, and oh God, it's horrible. I had to leave during the part of a draft once, and it drafted Brett Favre for me. And I wanted to puke so bad because there was no one else left after that. And I had to go part of a season with stupid Brett Favre on my team until I could trade him away. So the fact that this software has come so far since the beginning of fantasy football, because that tells you how long I've been playing fantasy football. And, you know, the last 4 or 5 years, I've consistently been first place all season with the most wins and, you know, winning back-to-back championships in dual leagues at the same time. And these are paid leagues. You know, I'm paying $50, $100, $150, $200 for these leagues. And to be actually making money at fantasy football is totally awesome. And it makes it so much fun at the end of the year. And it makes it so much fun to watch all the games, not just the Lions games. And I always have a couple of Lions players just so I have somebody to root for, you know. But the last couple of years, having Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs on my team or Sam Laporta on my team, they've been awesome until last year for Sam Laporta. But I'm really, really big into fantasy football. I really love it. So this is going to give me an opportunity to get even better at fantasy football and be able to help everyone else be better at fantasy football.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. Like I've never really used anything other than just my basic, you know, my basic research in that.
Having something that can draft for you so you can go to work, because a lot of people, they work Sunday evenings, and that's when most drafts are. Most drafts are on a Sunday night at 7:00. Well, me, a lot of times I'm on a beach in the middle of nowhere at 7:00, and then my other draft is at 9:00, and I'm in the middle of nowhere with no cell service, and I can't draft. So I have to have my buddy do it for me, or I have to have somebody, or I have to set up all the players that I want in my queue and hope that I get them. You know, it's very difficult when you can't be there. You just physically can't be there for your draft, and you have 11 other guys that can't change their schedule just because you can't change your schedule. And it would make it a lot better to have something like this that will take the most appropriate pick for you. That is game changing. That is huge if that can do that.
Yeah, it can. You just got to get it all set up. I want to make a quick statement, and then I'm going to take a quick break. What the Lions may be going through right now, and the state of the Lions, I think, is fragile at the moment, but I think it's led by the right people. You know, nobody outside the Lions building should really pretend to know exactly how every player and coach feels right now. It's a very awkward time, but this is not a normal roster transaction. It's not a normal situation that you see every year, especially from the Lions. Some players may be shocked that a teammate they trusted is gone. Some may feel disappointed. I'm sure a lot of them are angry. Others may be concerned for the alleged victims, while also caring about Terrion Arnold and his family as, people that they know personally. Those emotions can exist all at the same time. And there may also be confusion because Detroit's leadership, Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes have publicly, or previously indicated that, information that they had available at that time, information that was available to the organization, which I'm sure was minimal, supported Terrion Arnold's denial. And players now wonder what changed. The defensive backs also face a direct professional, consequence throughout all of this, which means their jobs are on the line, right? Someone who expected to be a reserve now may become a starter, and a young player may receive first-team repetition. So everything is changing in Detroit, at least for the cornerbacks room. Veterans may be pushed into different alignments or leadership roles, and the organization, in my opinion, has to address the situation honestly, openly, and without making private discussions public. So I'm not expecting a whole lot from the Lions, nor should you. This is internal stuff that is really none of our business. As fans, we expect too much, and in this case, I'm going to expect a lot less. I know and hope and pray that they just handle it, and it gets handled. The Lions cannot pretend nothing happened, right? And they didn't, obviously, with their actions yesterday. And they also can't allow for, one now former player's legal case to define every person inside that building. And I think that's the biggest distinction is the other players and how they feel. Like they probably feel like there's a million eyes on them right now. And maybe they feel disappointed, like I said earlier, but maybe they're also feeling like, man, do I really want to be here? Like this is massive. And so I would just be careful the words that you choose, the things that you say, because it does get to the players. It does get to their family. And toxic, negative media that is out there, unfortunately, there's a lot of it in the Detroit space. All they care about is clicks. All they care about is being front page news. And they don't care about the people. They don't care about the players. And I think that that's a major failure. Not saying that media has to, but I think that there's a fine line between reporting news, right? And then also just trying to be on top of the page by taking advantage of a situation and putting your thumb on somebody and then making fun of them. I think it's grossly negligible, but I think it's just inept reporting. And I think that's all I really want to say on it. I think it's shocking to all of us. It's shocking to everybody in that building. And I'm hoping that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes and Sheila Hamp, get their stranglehold around these guys and let them know things are going to be all right. They just got to do their job. But that also changes, Eric. It changes what Dan Campbell has to do now and what the leaders on this team have to do now, what players become more important right now. And I want to get to all that when we get back. We're going to take a brief voice break. We'll be right back.
I pledge my Sundays to the Honolulu Blue, to the silver stripes and the soul of the blue crew. From the ashes of 0 and then 16 we rose with the chip on our shoulder that everyone knows. I stand with the faithful, the loud and the loyal, on Michigan soil where the battle lines coil. I pledge allegiance to the shield and the mane, through the lake effect snow and the November rain. One nation under God, moving the chains with the fire of the city coursing through our veins. Hey, invisible spirit, upon them will crack. We got the whole league's targets on our back. watch the vision take hold, turning late round flyers into Detroit gold. He's the master of the board, the dealer of the deck, putting every expert opinion in check. Put every expert opinion in check. He doesn't follow trends, he creates the hook. Quiet in the room, let Brad cook. To the trenches we swear, where the dirty work's done, where the game isn't played, it's physically won. I promise to roar till my vocal cords fray, to believe in the homes and the Brad chosen way. We don't want the flash, we don't want the glitz, just the hunters who thrive in the heart of the grit. Liberty from the cellar, and justice for the years of pain. No more same old lions, just the kings of the northern reign. I pledge my allegiance, my heart and my roar, to the team that we love and the team we adore. With kneecaps for breakfast and victory in sight, we're the Detroit Lions and we're winning tonight.
All right. Welcome back to the Rise Grind Morning Show. Eric, I don't know what else you had on your list today, but I did want to talk about the cornerback plan moving forward.
Yep.
Was there anything else that you really wanted to get to before we talk about that?
Yeah. So last night, after this happens, one of the first things that happens is I get a message from my buddy Bob. And it was a Rob Parker kind of text to me. And it says, Detroit Lions, Brad should be fired because the 2024 draft class was a complete bust. Not one player on that 2024 thing. And I said, I think he said, there's not one player left. And I said, they're all on the team except for Terrion now. And I called him a dummy. And then he texted me back, yeah, but we don't have a single starter from that draft class. And I pulled it up, and then I look at Facebook, and it's the same thing. Everybody saying that Brad needs to be fired because of this 2024 draft class, because he's the cornerback whisperer and he got it wrong twice. They're saying they got it wrong with Terrion, and then he got it wrong with Ennis Rakestraw. But if you look at that draft class, it was Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, Giovanni Manu, who started one game last year, and then Sione Vaki, who was the starter on special teams. You have to say he's a starter, even though he's not starting as a running back or as a safety or DT, DB, like he was in college. And then you have Mekhi Wingo, who's been injured, but he's played some. And then you have Christian Mahogany, the last pick in the 6th round, picked 210 in round number 6. Christian Mahogany out of Boston College. He's probably the only one that's going to end up being a bona fide starter out of this draft class. But just because you have one draft class where you have more role players than you do starters doesn't mean that Brad's a bust. Brad had the draft before that where he got 4 starters out of his first 4 picks. I mean, bona fide starter, Pro Bowl, everything. So it evens out in the end. Water finds its level. I don't see how people are overreacting to the 2024 draft class. And I saw it all over social media last night. People posting the picture of the draft class and saying everybody from this draft class sucks and Brad needs to be fired and Brad needs to go. And that brings me up a question out of the chat too. Somebody said they were really disappointed in Brad for the way they did this. What if this came from ownership? ownership might have came out and said, hey,
Ownership absolutely involved in this. 1,000%.
yes.
And I don't even have to know that to know that. 1,000%. When a player is getting fired, Sheila is involved.
Yeah.
She has to know. So, look, Eric, I have beat this horse on Brad Holmes, and I can only imagine where this bullshit comes from, because there's a few channels out there that's all.
Oh,
they do,
you know where it comes
all they
from.
do is talk bullshit, right? Or edge. That's it. That's about all they got in the tank.
Yeah.
So let's talk bullshit for a minute.
Oh, they're going to switch from edge to corner now.
Oh, here we go. Ready? Here we go. Since 2021,
Yeah.
Brad Holmes has drafted 8 unique Pro Bowl and All-Pro players.
Yeah.
Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aiden Hutchinson, Kirby Joseph, Sam Laporta, Jack Campbell, all pros.
Yep.
Right? Sewell, St. Brown, and Laporta were all pros for the 23 season. Joseph joined Sewell and St. Brown for the 24 team. Campbell and Hutchinson joined Sewell and St. Brown on the 25 team. 7 Pro Bowlers: Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aiden Hutchinson, Jameer Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, Jack Campbell. 2 of those players, Jameer Gibbs and Brian Branch, should have been all pros. They were snubbed.
Yep.
Okay. I love the statement that water finds its level, because it does. And here's what a lot of people don't understand about football. And I'm not calling y'all idiots, but I'm just saying, pay attention to what's really going on in the NFL. Pay attention to what all of the other coaches and GMs are saying. I do. And the reason why is because I'm not just listening to 2 guys, Dan and Brad. No, I'm listening to the entire league tell the same story. And I've been saying the same story, and it all starts back with 2020, 2021, the COVID years. The COVID years caused a ton of problems with the draft cycle. And you even heard, which is hilarious, because the day before Brad Holmes addressed the media, the day before, I said that the COVID was still a problem. And even in this draft in 2026, this is probably one of the last drafts that we will see this problem, arise any further. I think this was the end of it. But then something else happened. But because those years really tampered down the quality of players that weren't getting on-field education, players that weren't getting, I guess that's it, the on-field training. They were in freaking Zoom rooms for a long time, barely even played football for a whole season. That reduces the quality of player that you're going to get in future drafts. It also made some players older. Okay, let's walk away from those years. But Brad said the same thing that I said the day before this year, how COVID still infected the draft. Then the whole paying players in college screwed it up even further, because now you got players waiting. They don't want to come out of college. So what did that do to the draft? Right now you get less and less quality players in the draft. Look at this year's draft, for instance. Everybody said, well, I started back in December when everyone was saying the edge position was so deep. There's so many edge players that we should be able to get players, all throughout, 7 rounds. And I said, yeah, there might be 30 edge, but there might be a couple that are even worth a first round grade. And that's exactly what happened. Now we'll find out this year how those players play. But it's funny how I say that in December, and then 3 weeks leading up to the draft, now everybody's turning and saying the same thing and saying, yeah, this draft's not good. Draft is super light, super thin, hardly any offensive linemen, hardly any top tier corners, only 2 quarterbacks, none of them top tier at all. And there's only a couple of edge players that deserve to go in the first round. What a shitty draft. It was all role players for the most part in this draft. Now you're going to have several players that were drafted in 2nd through 7th rounds that are going to pop. right? And they're going to become really good football players. It happens every year. But that is the exception, not the rule. When I say that this is a bad draft, you're going to have some really good football players, but that doesn't outweigh the fact that it was a bad draft. And the year before that, were not the greatest drafts. 2023 was the last really deep draft that you could consider all positions were deep. That was the last time I had more than 15 first-round grades. We were inching towards 17. I think Brad said they had 14 that year. But we had 4 players that are legit all-pro Pro Bowlers that came out of that draft. 2024's draft is not a bad draft. You got a 6th-round pick in Christian Mahogany. Remember those players that I just said are going to pop? Well, he's one that popped. He's a 6th-round pick. He shouldn't have been a 6th-round pick. Shouldn't have slid past the 2nd round. But he did. And the reason why is because one of his legs is longer than the other. And teams felt that that was going to be a problem. Now, when he has played in his rookie year after missing a large portion of the season, he played extremely well. In his 2nd year, given all the issues that the offense had, he didn't play very well. He played good. He didn't play great. This year is the deciding factor. Year 3 is always the deciding factor. Giovanni Manu was never drafted to be an immediate starter. You still had Taylor Decker under contract. There ain't no way that you can tell me that they drafted Giovanni Manu to be a starter day one. That's bullshit. And if you think that they drafted him, it was the 4th or the 3rd round, doesn't even matter. What other players were you going to draft? They needed an offensive lineman. And after he was drafted, there really wasn't anybody after him that ended up being really that good. But injury derailed his 2nd year. He got in, I think it was week 4 or 5 against the Bengals, and then tore up his knee, and it was done. So he was redshirted basically his 1st year because you still had Taylor Decker. There was no use for him. He wasn't needed on the team. They had other vets in front of him. Okay, who else is on that roster in 2024?
Well,
Terry and Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw.
Yeah.
Terry and Arnold. Go ahead.
But speaking of Giovanni Manu, they may have found out that he's better at guard than he is at tackle.
Right. Something that I always felt that they should have done a long time ago. And that could be a great move for them. He could end up being a solid backup guard. Again, he's not asked to be a starter. That's not why you bring him in. Again, I'll go back to this. 15% or less of all draft picks beyond the 3rd, just in the 3rd round, will start in the NFL. And less than 3% of those 15% will end up being elite, which is like 1.5 players, 2 players max. Those are the real numbers that you need to look at. People that actually know and understand statistics and analysis will go back and say, look, you're not expected to get maybe 1 or 2 players out of this draft in each round. That's it. And that's not for each team. That's for the league. There's just not a ton of talent in every single draft. Some drafts, it's all about role players. Terry Arnold was playing some really good football last year. His 1st year, he got riddled with penalties, and I think we understand why. He was targeted by the NFL. He was targeted by the refs. A lot of those penalties were bullshit, and some of them weren't. But his next year, he started to play really well. Then he got the shoulder injury. You can't blame Brad because of an injury. You can't. You can only blame Brad if the player doesn't ultimately work out, but then you need to look at the substance of his time in Detroit, not one little subset of data. If we judged you, right, if I were to evaluate you at your work, whatever you do for work, and all I look at is the most negative parts of your work, how long do you think you'd be employed by me?
Yeah.
Not very long, right? But you have to look at the whole story. You have to look at all of the players, and then you have to consider what's called, I know this may shock you, a roster, right? And a roster that already has starters, already has a core, and also has players they need to pay. So you may not need certain players at certain positions each and every year, and then that may or may not line up with how good that draft is. Hindsight is a killer in this industry because hindsight will always tell you, oh, coulda, shoulda, woulda, should have drafted that guy. I mean, I could bark up and down, up and down the tree all day long on Brad Holmes because I said Kobe Turner, right? Pretty much everybody the Rams got. Those are the players that I said were going to be the best at their positions. And they got
Donald over Eric Ebron.
What's that?
Aaron Donald over Eric Ebron.
Yeah, but that wasn't Brad Holmes.
I know.
But you get what I'm saying, right? So I look at the substance of what Brad Holmes has done. I evaluate the entire story. And the entire story tells me we have more than 22 core players on this roster. We have the number one offense in the NFL. We have the most weapons out of any team in the NFL. And guess what? We still have a quarterback that can do it, even though a lot of people think that he can't. He's been doing it. He's been proving everybody wrong. And he's been proving Dan and Brad right this entire time. On the defense, we have a really good defense. We have had a really good defense. But to say that the Lions have regressed the last 2 years, weren't we just 15-2 in 2024? And that was,
but we lost in the first playoff game to a rookie quarterback.
Who gives a shit?
That's what they hang their hat on.
Yeah, but that's not.
We had a bad game in the playoffs.
That's
so
not.
what?
But it wasn't just a bad game, Eric. We had an entire front seven that was missing outside of Jack Campbell.
Oh yeah,
we had entire
21 players on IR.
Right, we had an entire secondary that was missing outside of Amik Robertson.
Yeah, and then we had 65,000 fans that were not cheering and
and 10,000 leave in the third quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, it's you have to look at the substance. I get sick of the talking heads and the people that think that they know stuff. All they do is hone in on the negative. They amplify it. That's what toxic media is. When you actually take time to research and investigate and really understand what your team is about, we're going to whine, bitch, and cry over a couple of players when you have 22 others that are carrying this team. Yeah. This team isn't just Terry and Arnold. This team isn't Giovanni Manu. We've won all these games without them playing.
Yep.
This team isn't Ennis Rakestraw. We've won all these games without him playing. Christian Mahogany is the only one that's had significant snaps out of that draft class. Now, this is where Brad could look extremely smart. What if Ennis Rakestraw pops this year? What if he stays healthy, fits in a backup role? And you also have to realize, too, not you, Eric, but everybody else that thinks that Brad sucks, is not every player is drafted to be a starter. There's not enough coverage or not enough opportunity in the league to always draft starters. Some players may have the best stats in the world in college, and then they come to the NFL and they shit the bed. Johnny Manziel, right? Should have been one of the best quarterbacks based on his stats. He sucked. And a lot of others. But the point is, some of the players that don't have the best stats end up being the best players. So you have to take the ebbs and the flows and really look at the substance of this. I think Brad has done a phenomenal job. He's not going to hit 100%, but I've already given you all the numbers. Prior to 2026, Brad has a hit rate of 72%. He has a starter rate of more than 55%. The NFL average hit rate is 50%. And hit rate just means they stuck on the roster. Brad's starters hit rate is more than the NFL average of just drafting a player that makes the roster. Let that sink in. And then you have to look at the UDFAs and how many UDFAs he's brought in that have played really well. The Isaac Tesla move from 2025 is going to look extremely smart this year, isn't it? When everyone thought that he was an idiot for trading away all those draft picks. You know why he traded all those draft picks away? Because this year's draft sucked. He wasn't going to need the picks. Now, yeah, there could have been better third-round picks to take over fourth or fifth or sixth-round picks. But then you also have to look at the financial implications, too. There's a method to the madness. It may not make sense to everybody, and not everybody takes the time to do the research. And I'm not saying that Brad isn't, wrong sometimes. He is. But so are you, and so am I, and so is every other GM in the league. What would we be without Brad? Hasn't this been the best 5 seasons we've had in a long time?
Yeah.
Tell
me another GM in the last 5 years that's been voted GM of the year 2 years in a row. We've never had that.
But not only that, Eric, but when you compare him, and I've done this too, to Les Snead and Howie Roseman, Brad is way ahead of where they were at this time in their career for their respective teams. It took them both 7 or 8 seasons to win their first Super Bowl with the Rams or the Eagles. And they didn't even make the playoffs. I think it was the Rams that make the playoffs for at least 2 seasons in a row. And I think the Eagles didn't make the playoffs for 4 seasons in a row before they won a Super Bowl. What does that tell you? So we missed the playoffs 1 year and we exit 2024 in the first round, which if you were thinking we were going to win that game, yeah, we might have put up some points, but we didn't have a defense. And the minute you lost Amik Robertson, it was done. You can't blame Goff for making some mistakes when the entire game was on his shoulders at that point because we had no defense. We were not able to stop Washington. You could blame Aaron Glenn for running the stupid blitz and man defense, which I said was the wrong thing to do before that game, and that showed up in spades after the game. It was a wrong call. And then to make matters worse, both Ben and Aaron Glenn, they had their eyes elsewhere, man. Their feet were somewhere else. They were making some real shit calls in that game that led to Jared Goff making some mistakes, right?
Yeah. I also hate about that game that Goff takes all the blame for that game. And even the national pundits, the national shows, they'll bring it up that Goff had 4 interceptions in that game. No, Goff did not have 4 interceptions in that game. The Lions had 4 turnovers in that game. Let's see. Jamison Williams threw an interception. So there's one of them. And then Goff had a fumble on a 3rd and 1 from our own 17 because Ben Johnson decided to go empty backfield and let a free rusher go at Jared Goff and made him fumble the ball. So you tell me how Goff had 4 interceptions if we had 4 total turnovers in the game and 1 was on Jamison Williams and 1 was a fumble because of Ben Johnson. So you tell me how Goff had 4 interceptions in the game. Everybody gets it wrong, and they always label Goff as the reason that we lost that game. And I hate that for Jared Goff because it wasn't his fault that we lost that game.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't just Jared Goff's fault. I mean, you're running a pass play on 3rd and 1 at the 17-yard line when the other 99.999% of the time you're putting that ball in the hands of your running backs twice.
Yes.
Right? And you're getting the first down. Had we just done that, we win that game. I guarantee it. If that play doesn't happen, that game is won. But, and I don't care at what point that, that play happened. It's just the circumstances after that. I think that they scored a field goal off of that turnover. If memory,
it was a 10-point swing.
Yeah.
So the Lions were going to go up because they were up by, I think the Lions were up by 10 at that point, and they were going to go up by 17 points. And
then they go 3 the other way.
Yeah.
So Brad has done an excellent job. Look, I'm not going to piss in the face of excellence. Y'all have to, the people that don't believe in Brad, I think you really need to look in the mirror and question yourself and go look at what he's really done. Because the picks that he has made, I mean, finding Amon-Ra St. Brown, I mean, come on. That was in his first draft. You have to look at the quality of the draft first. And go look at the other teams. What are they getting? How have they performed? You remember when I look back at the Patriots? The Patriots, who went to the Super Bowl last year, they haven't held a 4th-round pick on their roster since 2021. They have lost like 13 4th-round picks since 2021. They all get shit canned. They don't make the roster, or they get cut later.
Yeah.
That isn't happening in Detroit. So either we're keeping too many players, which again, if you look at what we did, Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aiden Hutchinson, Kirby Joseph, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, even if that's all he got out of 5 drafts, that's enough. Just that is enough. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Right?
Will, I got some breaking news for you.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Attila the Hun just let the cat out of the bag. The Lions suck, and they have no talent. Vegas is wrong, having them winning the North and 3rd in the NFC this season. Petzing and Kafka will fail. The window is closed. Rob Parker and Nick Wright are correct.
Yeah. Come on, man.
And we're wrong.
I'll still never understand someone saying that the team regressed because we went 15-2. That's the best season we've ever had. It's one of the best seasons in the NFL in a very, very long time. And they did it on the backs of their backups. Bro, we had third and fourth string players playing defense, right? That's like taking my kid off the street and say, go play. How they did it is beyond me. The fact we are even able to win the 1 seed, that should tell you something. With that defense, they played extremely well on the back end of that stretch, but they just didn't have it. You're going into the playoffs against the best teams that were healthy. You can't win in this league unless you're healthy. You can't. It's really hard. All right, we'll put that aside.
Ask last year's Chiefs team.
Yeah. How did they do last year? That's a team that regressed.
Yep.
Let's see if they can even come back. All right, 20 reasons why the Lions can overcome their current situation. Let's see if we can do a little rapid fire with this. I haven't really read through these to develop any sort of an answer. So here we go. The Detroit Lions lost the former first-round cornerback, but the entire team did not disappear with him. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree.
The Lions still have leadership, star power, coaching continuity, and enough time to prepare before training camp. Agree or disagree?
100% agree with that. They have plenty of time.
Let us know in the comments, obviously in the chat right now, if you agree or disagree. You can go thumbs up, thumbs down, yes or no, whatever you want to put in there, just let us know. Third reason, overcoming this will not happen because Detroit delivers another slogan about grit.
No, that has nothing to do with anything.
I had to throw it in there because, the Grit Warriors.
You notice everybody's stealing the grit thing now. Even
it's everywhere.
Aaron Glennon at the Jets, he's got T-shirts that say grit, but it's a jet for the G.
Jit. Got some jit.
Drit.
Got some jit. All right, so 20 reasons why the Lions will overcome the recent tragedy involving Terry and Arnold. Fourth question is, it will happen because the roster still has answers, because the coaches can adjust, and because the organization made the decision early enough to build a new plan.
Agree.
All right, now let's get into the real 20 questions. The 20 reasons why Detroit can recover. Number 1. The release happened before training camp. Number 2, DJ Reed provides an established outside corner. And by the way, who the hell ever thought that Terry Arnold was our number 1 outside corner? He's always been number 2. And even this year could have been number 3, even if he was on the team.
They were saying he had to earn his spot a week ago. Right.
Rock Ya-Sin, number 3. Rock Ya-Sin has starting experience. He played 6 games for the Lions last year in a starting capacity. Played pretty well. Fifth reason why the Lions can recover, Roger McCreary provides alignment flexibility and veteran leadership. Number 6, Lions drafted Keith Abney II, and he can develop without being rushed. Might be a little bit rushed now, but I still think you have plenty of players in front of him, Christian Izzy, Roger McCreary. Rock Ya-Sin, you've got a lot of people in front of him that he doesn't really have to rush, but I expect Keith Abney to get a lot of snaps here in training camp. Number 7, assuming Kirby Joseph can play, Kirby Joseph can provide the range over the top when healthy. Is that a reason the Lions can recover, or is that a reason why the Lions should worry with Kirby Joseph's potential inability to suit up this year?
One more time.
Kirby Joseph can provide range over the top when healthy. So is that a reason the Lions can recover, or should the Lions worry with Kirby Joseph's inability to suit up?
Right now, I'm more worried.
And to follow that up with Brian Branch, kind of the same thing.
Not so much with him.
Okay, you think he'll be back? He can strengthen multiple. Go ahead.
I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be just fine, even if he misses 3-4 games, 5 games, 8 games, whatever it is. I think he still plays a significant amount of the season, and I think he's going to be just fine.
Let's hope so, because he could really strengthen multiple coverage roles when he does return, and it gives the Lions really that wild card out there. Number 9, Aiden Hutchinson. He can shorten coverage time by attacking the quarterback. So I think that this is now turned into where, even with Arnold in or out, the plan doesn't change, right? You still want to get good pressure. I think the middle of the defense is going to be more important. But then again, we're also going to a nickel style of a defense, which is going to give the cornerbacks a lot more opportunity to make plays. So do you believe that Aiden Hutchinson is going to be key to this recovery for the Lions by maybe asking more of him?
By committee?
Sure.
Yeah, because if you put DJ Wanham and you're putting our new draft pick from Michigan there,
Derek Moore,
in with him, if Aiden can get to the quarterback in 2.5 seconds instead of 4.5 seconds, then yes, then I think that is a huge deal.
The Lions also added DJ Wanham this offseason, and that added depth that Eric is speaking about provides more options. And then alongside that, Derek Moore can expand the pressure rotation. So I think when you add all three of these guys together, like you said, by committee, that's exactly a reason why the Lions can recover. Number 12, Kelvin Shepard, he can adjust the coverage structure. Agree or disagree?
Oh, I agree with that 100%. I think that Kelvin Shepard is going to have a much different year 2 than he did in year 1. He's got his feet under him now, and he's able to now, after getting rid of the distractions, and he's got a clean slate this year. So I really think that Kelvin Shepard is going to come on. I think the Detroit Lions defense is actually going to be better this year than last year.
I agree. This is probably one of the more important ones. Jack Campbell, he's going to be relied upon to really stabilize the communication coming out of the middle, but he's really there as the leader of this entire defense. So just because of Jack Campbell, I believe the Lions will be able to recover. Do you agree or disagree?
Oh, for sure.
14, Detroit still has a veteran locker room full of leadership. Do you believe that's enough for the Lions to recover?
Oh, 100%.
All right, 15, the offense can control possession and game tempo. So do you agree or disagree that just because the offense is so good, now we can help the defense out a little bit more between maintaining possession of the football and providing game tempo?
I don't know how much more they can have. If you look at a bunch of the lists right now, the Detroit Lions have the number 1 offense going into 2026.
1,000% they do. All right. Number 16, Jahmyr Gibbs. He can change games without depending on the defense, which provides the Lions with more control. So do you think that Jahmyr Gibbs can help the Lions recover?
100%. He stays healthy. He could be the best running back in the NFL.
Number 17, a controlled camp can really help restore the routine. So the Lions are not having, other teams in this year to have, why do I always forget the word?
Joint practices.
Joint practices. They're not having joint practices this year, which was probably the best decision Dan Campbell made. So by having a controlled camp environment, they're not going to have all the outside noise. They're not going to have another team in the house chirping at them, talking shit to them. Do you believe that that is a reason that can help the Lions recover?
Sure.
Number 19, Terry Arnold's release creates finality for the depth chart. The Lions have severed the umbilical cord here with Terry and Arnold, and in doing it now, do you believe that was the right call to allow the Lions to recover?
I'm torn. I really am. I'm still in the mourning phase of losing Terry and Arnold. I'm in shock. I don't know what to think yet, so I can't answer that one yet.
Number 19, one failed first-round investment does not define the entire organization. Do you believe that is a reason?
1,000,000%.
All right, and I'll save the best for last. Kind of goes with number 19. Brad Holmes still has time to evaluate the veteran market, and he will make the right decision when and if that time comes to adding a replacement. Do you believe that will be a reason as to why the Lions can recover?
Sure, and I think it's a big if on them bringing someone in.
So my audience question of this segment would be, which 20 of these reasons give you the most confidence? What is the one area Detroit needs or must fix for this recovery plan to work? And I'm using strong words here, right? I'm using a strong word, recovery. Are the Lions really recovering right now? I think we're in the fallout phase one of shock and awe, right? Don't know what's happening. Why did the Lions, react? Was it knee-jerk reaction? Was the NFL going to come down hard? Or was it just the right move, wrong situation, right time, and the Lions will be fine? So let me know in the comments below and in the chat right now. I believe the offense is going to help stabilize this team overall, Eric. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway out of all this. The defense is on a major climb right now. We've got a lot of really solid pieces that they picked up, but I want to focus on two players primarily, and this should be our last segment, at least for you, of the day.
Yeah.
Williams and Isaac Tesla, Jameson Williams and Isaac Tesla.
Yep.
They need to take a big step forward. Detroit's passing game needs more than established stars, right? We need JMO and Isaac Tesla to become complete, dependable players. Williams has always possessed that game-changing moment or that game-changing speed. The next stage is the route consistency, which started to show up in spurts last year. The timing with Jared Goff and the production started to show up. And when defenses take away the easy vertical opportunities, it started to show up a little bit more. But I need more out of Jameson Williams this year. He needs to develop into that dependable, consistent route runner with clean hands. And then Isaac Tesla enters a different phase of his development this year. Probably one of the most fascinating draft picks from Brad Holmes' 2025 draft that a lot of people took exception to. They didn't believe in the guy, and then all of a sudden, he's catching touchdowns and really showing why he can be a threat in this game. So entering a new stage of his development, his 6 rookie touchdowns showed his red zone potential, and Detroit now needs him to win on third down, block consistently, and separate from the before the football arrives. He does not need 100 targets. Let me be clear. He does not need 100 targets. He just needs to be a role player. He needs to prove that Petzing can keep him on the field in multiple formations without tipping the play call. And then if Jameson Williams becomes a complete second receiver this season and Isaac Tesla becomes that trustworthy third option, tell me, how are defenses going to be able to overload coverage on St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, or Sam Laporta when you have 5 legit weapons that can score from any angle on the field? So this, to me, is a topic that I think is going to revolutionize the year this year, the season for the Lions offense this year, meaning both these guys need to take a big step forward. That would make Detroit's offense even more flexible and more difficult to predict. So the hot topic of the day, Williams must expand the vertical routes or beyond the vertical routes. The timing with Goff has to remain essential. Isaac Tesla's touchdowns as a rookie showed that he can be a consistent threat, and he needs to improve his separation. Blocking is going to determine whether Tesla stays on the field for more downs or not. And really, Detroit needs both of those receivers to take a major step forward. My question to you and the rest of the audience would be, what or who makes a larger leap in 2026? Jameson Williams or Isaac Tesla? And what numbers would define a successful season for Isaac Tesla this year? What do you think?
Well, I think to start with JMO, I just want him to be consistent. Last year, he had 1,117 yards for 7 touchdowns. So if he can maybe add 2 touchdowns, so let's get him to 9 touchdowns and right around 1,200 yards, I'm perfect with JMO right there. But the one thing I want JMO to improve on is drops, because last year, if you go by PFF, they charted him with 9 drops, and then Pro Football Reference, they had him with 12 drops. It just depends on if you think the ball was catchable or not. So he was somewhere between 9 and 12 drops last year. So I would like to see JMO cut that in half. Let's get it down to 4. Okay. Let's get it down to 4 or 5 drops this year. That means 4 or 5 more receptions, because he's getting 17.2 yards per reception. So you add on, so let's say 5 more catches, that's a lot more yards, and that's probably another 1 or more 2 touchdowns on the season. So that's exactly where I want JMO to be this year. And then we'll go over to Isaac Tesla. He had 16 receptions for 239 yards, 6 touchdowns with a 14.9 average. I would like to see his average get up a little farther. I'd like to see him add 2 touchdowns. Let's get him to 8 touchdowns, and let's add another 300 yards. And instead of 16 receptions, let's get him up closer to 30, 35 receptions on the year. And I think he'll get there no problem, because now he's learned the offense. He's learning his place in this offense. But the only thing that might take away from that is a healthy Sam Laporta, because he got a lot of the routes that Sam Laporta was running last year. And as we know, Sam Laporta is Detroit Lions and Jared Goff's safety blanket. So I could see Tesla having a bigger year, but not much bigger. And he doesn't need to have a much bigger role this year. We need to have Sam Laporta have more of a role like he did in his rookie season. So that's what I would like to see. I'd love to see them all do better this year, but just stay consistent. Don't do less than last year. Let's add to it. And I'm telling you what, right now, man, the Detroit Lions have, if not the best, one of the best wide receiver groups in the NFL. And definitely in the NFC North.
I would agree. One quick name. I know you got to run. Go ahead.
Yep, I'm gonna have to say goodbye to all you guys because I have to open the shop today.
So all right, buddy. Have a good day.
See you guys all next Tuesday.
All right, we'll see you, man. Have a good day. So a couple of things mentioned in the chat there during Eric's take. Don't forget about Dortch. We can't forget about Dortch. Dortch has a unique ability. He's kind of that ability of the Kendrick Law, right? I mean, that's where I see Dortch fitting in this year. You know, taking a lot of the shorter things for longer distances, more yak to his game. One question was, didn't JMO have like 1,200 yards? He was like 11, close, right? 11, 17 or something like that. Only 7 TDs though last year. And then another statement. I want to see JMO. Where is it? More deep shots to JMO. Where was it? Oh, Phoenix. I want to see more JMO deep shots, right? So, just so you know, the Lions were top 3 in every statistical category for deep shots last year. Anything over 30, 40, 50 yards, 20, 30, 40, 50 yards. Jared Goff was top 3. And I think he was top 5. I think he was top 5 in 40, and top 3 in 50, top 3 in, or second in 30. I'd have to go back and look again. But either way, we are at the top of the game when it comes to deep shots. And it's air yards. It's not catch and run yards. It's air yards. So we are taking the deep shots. And I will give you a bit of a warning. Drew Petzing's offense is not about going deep. Doesn't mean that he can't. Doesn't mean that he won't. But that offensive style, the West Coast hybrid that we run, is more about what you saw last year, the dink and the dunk, try to get some yak. And I don't agree with it. I think that the deep crossers were a big miss last year. We didn't see enough of those. So I would like to see more of the intermediate routes, not the super deep shots. Take them when you can get them. Right? But I want to see more of the intermediate routes or the 12 to 19-yard routes more consistently. I don't want to see this under 10-yard stuff, but it also depends on what defense you're going up against. If you have a defense that can get on your quarterback pretty quickly, well, then you're going to see shorter stuff. And if the other way around, if you've got a defense that isn't able to get to the quarterback, you're probably going to see some longer stuff. This is where I would disagree with Eric when he said, you know, JMO or Tesla doesn't need to have a bigger role this year. He does need to have a much bigger role. And I think the reason why is he can be that third down chain mover, just like Sam Laporta. And so when you've got both those guys lined up in a tight formation, next to the line of scrimmage, almost in like a tight end role for Isaac Tesla, he has the ability to break a linebacker in half. right? And be able to separate from them. And I think that's where, having multiple receivers on the field and Jahmyr Gibbs in there just about every play, you're going to have to pick up Gibbs. You're going to have to pick up J-Mo. You're going to have to pick up Amon-Ra St. Brown. But what about Laporta and Isaac Tesla? Right? So you can run the same formations, make it look the same, but now Tesla is operating as a tight end. Maybe he's running that slip screen, or maybe he's running just a little straight route 10 yards and in, or maybe it's just, a little slant towards the end zone after 10, 12 yards. Like Puka Nacua runs it all the time. Puka Nacua runs the little 10, 12, and he starts to angle towards the sideline, and that is where Matthew Stafford does his best business with Puka Nacua, and that's where I see Isaac Tesla gaining this year and becoming more of a role player, is in those situations out of the tight formations. Like he's operating like a tight end, but he's not a tight end. And we don't know what the plan is, for Isaac Tesla. Last year, I felt, or the tail end of last year, earlier December, January this year, I was thinking there could be an opportunity for Tesla to become a tight end. He has the size, he has the height, he has the receiving ability. The blocking ability is okay. It needs to be better. But sometimes you're asking, guys to be pass catchers and not blockers. There were some statements made the other day. I forget, it was a comment trying to compare like Sam Laporta to Kyle Pitts, and they are like two of the same, even though like Kyle Pitts maybe comes off as more of a receiver. He doesn't block as often, but the numbers are staggering. Like Kyle Pitts and Sam Laporta are only separated by about 2% or 3% when it comes to being detached from the line or running routes as a receiver. And I think that's an alarming number when you got guys that are running 71, 73% of routes as the tight end. And so don't confuse Sam Laporta as just a H-back or, an F tight end. He's a Y tight end too. He's a move tight end. He can do it all. Sam Laporta will definitely have a good season this year as long as he stays healthy, but I think that's where Isaac Tesla's game has to be ready in case something does go down with Sam Laporta. He can step in. Training camp. We're talking about the recovery today. Training camp is where recovery happens, right? These guys, they really need to get together now, I guess is what I would expect from the players on this team, to get together and to talk about it, be done with it before camp starts. And I think that training camp is no longer just the beginning of another season this year. I think it's the Lions' first opportunity to return to the organization, to a normal football routine. The defensive backs need to clear their heads and have clear roles from the very beginning. Reed really has to lead from the front. And Yasin and Rakestraw need to, define their opportunities when they get them. McCreary's alignment, right? It must be established. Where is he going to be? How's he going to be used? The safeties need to know how much coverage support will be required. And I don't really think that losing Terry and Arnold is going to affect the team or the defense in a way that is going to be detrimental to the defense. I think we have plenty of players that are going to be able to step in and plenty of resources around the team that are going to be able to help out. Take some of that liability away, I guess, from other players, but I just don't see it. I don't see where this is going to affect the team in a major way defensively. I just think it's going to affect them mentally right now. I think the Lions will definitely evolve, recover, and be just fine. Let's see. I had a couple of things from the NFC North. Let's see if it even makes sense to talk about today. Probably not. I'll probably save it. Update for the week. Thursday, I'll probably be off. But this week I do want to have one evening show, at least. And then pay attention to the members chat or the members post if you're a member. And then also pay attention to the other posts if you're not a member, because I'll be putting the opportunities out there for people to join the drafts, the fantasy drafts. They're free, right? We will be giving some prizes away at the end of the season. And so just pay attention. If you want to join a fantasy league, we're going to do it each and every year. And now it's going to be highly organized. And then, of course, check out draftsharks.com/rockedon if you'd like to save 60% on your fantasy league advice, right? And get all the tools required to win, right? In all your other leagues. It's a really unique site. They do a wonderful job. And they're extending the courtesy of 60+% off if you sign up today. Anything else you guys want to discuss? Attila says anything less than 12 wins is a huge disappointment, most likely 13-4. If Laporta, Branch, and Kirby are healthy by mid-season, 14-3 is not out of the question. I think you're onto something there. Well, Fenix says, I feel like Petzing will be very flexible with each game, being a different formula, and the ability to adjust as needed. That's the key, Phoenix. That's the key, adjusting. Like, we didn't have the adjustment last year. Right? We ended up with Dan Campbell going into the game with, a certain set of circumstances ahead of him and a game plan, but being able to adjust is key. And not a lot of guys can do it. Not a lot of OCs and DCs can get out of their, pre-planned 12, 15, 20 play sheet, the calls that they're going to make, to at least start the game, and they kind of get into this routine, each and every game. That's what each team does. They come out, break the huddle, and they run their 12, 15, 20 plays, and that's what they're going to run. It's not until the second half that really anything changes. And I think you're right. And I think that Drew Petzing will be able to adjust. Just listen to the guy talk. Like, he's super smart, super swift with his thoughts and his processes. And I think that's only going to get better as he learns this offense and the weapons that he actually has. Let's just double check news real quick. I don't think we have anything really going on. Let's take a listen to this clip real quick. 97 won the ticket. Let's see what they said about the whole TA situation.
Lions doing something smart. He could not be on this team.
There's no way. Before you get mad or yell or, innocent until proven guilty. Listen, you're right, in a court of law. The Detroit Lions are not a court of law. The Detroit Lions are not going to have a player facing life in prison practicing. Every player, as Rico just said, will have to answer excruciatingly ridiculous questions. Right. It was never going to happen. Plus, let's be very clear. They already look kind of silly based on what Dan Campbell said a few months ago. We played the audio last week.
Yeah.
Would you really double down on that?
You can't double down on that. That's why I thought the Lions would simply tell him, don't show up to camp, handle your business, praying to God that the NFL would put him on the exemption list so they wouldn't even have to do this move and they could just say, hey, Darian, we believe in you, but the mean old guys at the NFL said you can't show up here. As the Lions being responsible, so, you can't be.
Right move for the organization, especially too, and I know this isn't as important to fans, some fans, but if an organization is going to preach about having high character guys, that's a phrase you always hear out of Rotunda Drive. You couldn't possibly have this guy here, period. Not to mention the fact there is a next to 0% shot that his football career is not at a minimum deeply impacted.
Well, you guys tell me if you agree with any of that. I think we kind of said some similar things this morning on the whole TA thing. But I would disagree with the fact on Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell didn't say anything that was out of pocket. He didn't say anything outside of what they know is what they know. And what they know right now is it seems like he wasn't involved. And TA may be involved, may not be involved. And honestly, it's a done story now. We move on. We move forward. We'll follow it. we'll follow the case as it evolves and as it goes through trial. We'll talk about it. I don't think that the Lions are going to have egg on their face, even if he is innocent. I feel like it was probably the right move at the right time. So it is what it is. Lions recover. It's time to get on to the 2026 NFL season. We are 1 month away, y'all. 1 month. Training camp will be here. I'll be there. Hopefully you'll be there. And we'll see you guys hopefully tomorrow. If not tomorrow morning, tomorrow night. I have a busy schedule today. I can already feel it. We got a lot of calls coming in, a lot of emails I got to get to. So we'll see you guys later. Take care. Go and probably go to Detroit Lions again. Thank you for joining me this morning on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Don't forget, check out draftsharks.com/rockdon. Get your 60% off today for your season of fantasy football. Adios.